open it was. I just had heard of it. The playwright Michael Primserat, he was the one that sort of obviously did all this research on it. He's an MFA grad from USC.
Wonderful.
And the Playwrights Arena is really known for taking Los Angeles-based playwrights and nurturing their projects and developing their projects through staged readings. And from what I understand, this girl most likely to went through a series of stage readings and workshops to develop it to where it is now. But I feel like Michael did such an amazing job of laying this beautiful foundation down. And it's interesting, with 3 weeks of rehearsal, you try to absorb and take in as much as you can. But even during the process of working on the project, and now actually that the project is up, I'm still learning from the script. I'm still learning things in it that allow me to go deeper each time. And I look at it and think, wow, Michael wrote that for that reason. And it just keeps layered upon itself.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
and it's an important story for people to hear, because I think the more people learn about the transgender community, or really about any community they don't know about, the more they begin to accept. I think it's the fear of the not knowing.
Of course.
And I think that in very conservative areas of this country, and I only speak about this country, Nicholas, because I've only lived in this country, I think there are a lot of people that believe falsely that transgendered people are out to fool you. That they're out to go to parties and make you think you're hitting on a hot girl, and then big surprise, or vice versa. And in the case of Boys Don't Cry, the opposite.
Sure.
And I think the truth is that they're just living their lives. And probably a lot of them would hope you wouldn't find out if you're not going to be okay with it. They just want to live and go through life and just be accepted for who they are by their friends and just be left alone a lot of the time.
Right.
They're not out to like pull some big bait and switch at a frat party.
No.
But I think that once people realize that that's not a fear, then it's a whole different ball game. And I think people just need to hear stories like this and go and see plays like this and realize that the fear comes from the unknown.
Yes, absolutely. And the fear does come from the unknown. And I think a play like this just puts a certain light on it so that people can go and see it. And what's interesting is the audiences have been so mixed, of different types of people, of different ages, of different backgrounds, of different ethnicities. And each time there's always a large group that stays afterwards to talk, to try to learn more about the subject. They're moved by the story, and they're moved by what happens with these particular characters and these human beings, but they're also interested and intrigued in the how and the why and the what. And I think when people start asking questions and they're motivated to learn, I think that's evolution. Yeah. And that's progress.
I agree. Right. And when they get to the point where they see a story as just characters and not, oh, this is a story with a transsexual theme.
Correct.
It's just, this is a story of what happened to a person, and everybody's different, and everybody's experience is different.
Yes.
And this is what happened to this girl.
And I think that's an interesting point, because some of the other projects I've worked on, like Is It Just Me, I felt like where I played a gay character trying to find love, it started to become less about a gay character and more about universal love and people being able to understand it and watch it, and not it just being something that's niche.
Right.
You know, and it's like with this play, it's anybody can see this and draw something from it, even if it's just empathy and humanity.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the beautiful thing I think about as people begin to get used to seeing things that are different, then it just becomes a story about.
Sure. And
not a story that like you said, oh, this is labeled this. It just becomes, this is a story about this girl's struggle and people that didn't understand her. This is a story from the 80s and a story in 2012, and you can see the difference. And it becomes not so much about, oh, I don't want to see that because I'm not interested in transsexuals.
Right. That doesn't represent me. Right.
Right. It's not transsexual political theater.
Right. Not at all.
Nothing wrong if it was. It just isn't. It's the Sheet of Metal Experience, LA Talk Radio. More with the wonderful Nicholas Downs right after this, right here on LA Talk Radio. My guest all this hour, the wonderful Nicholas Downs. He's at the LA Center Theater doing the new play called The Girl Most Likely. Now, what is the history of this play? Is this a premiere, or has it played a lot? Do you know?
This is the world premiere of the play.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay.
The playwright was, like I said, was a MFA graduate.
I love that.
Dramatic writing at USC. John Lawrence Rivera workshopped the play, developed it, did stage readings of it, and now this is the world premiere. And
it's fantastic.
it's interesting. People after the show will say things like, "You should bring this show on tour." And then talk to John about it. It's interesting because it is a show that could easily go on tour. It's not that big of a cast.
Sure.
The set is not that huge of a set. It's very minimal. And it could go around and it could play different places: San Diego, San Francisco.
It'd be a wonderful play to take on a college tour.
Absolutely.
For awareness.
It's interesting. A lot of young people are coming to the show. and it's drawing in the majority of the people that come are of a younger demographic, which is fantastic to see those people show up and come to theater. It's just wonderful.
Now, is it hard for you, Nicholas, to prep 3 characters? Because most people, a lot of actors get so into a character that they kind of carry that character around for 6 weeks, or they're in the character. I think an actor like that probably wouldn't take a play where they had to play more than one character. So what's it like to kind of switch gears?
Well, it's a challenge, but it's also a great joy. I actually love being able to do it and switch off and on. Some of my scene changes are like my costume changes are like 20 seconds. I'm literally running off stage right, running back around to the back behind stage, yelling a line out before I come on. Someone's there to help me change quickly, and then coming on 20 seconds later to be a totally different character than what I was. I play the 2 main characters. One is a teacher, which I have a couple scenes of. Then I play 2 other main characters, this buddy guy. And what's interesting is everybody got kind of a general name in it. American, boy, girl, buddy. So
that's
that
interesting.
They could be everybody. They could be anybody.
That's interesting. It's almost like Greek tragedy-esque.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And so I run around and I have to shift back and forth between this sort of naive, sweet, innocent American in the Philippines to this kind of mean, raunchy, says whatever he wants and doesn't care buddy guy in the modern times. And one of my most interesting ones is when I have to go between being him to going to my final scene to being the American, and it's just such a great juxtaposition between those characters. I was drawn to the American character at first, and that breakdown and that storyline, and then the other ones I knew came with it. But as I got into it more and more and started to transition between the 2, I was loving the challenge. I was loving.
Well,
being
you're actually
able to bounce
transitioning
back
between the
and forth.
3.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, do you look like you in all of them, or are you somewhat disguised in some?
Somewhat. And for the teacher, I throw some glasses on. I'm more like in a suit tie kind of situation.
All right.
That's
not an easy costume change.
No,
to get into a suit and tie.
No, it's not. But we got set up. We had this wonderful costume designer named Smilette, and she did a terrific job of making sure we had the right clothes that would come off and on. We've got wonderful stage managers who are always there for us to make that experience as smooth as possible. But also in smaller theater, it's up to you. You don't have a dresser backstage. You don't have anybody doing it for you. You're doing your own stuff.
Right.
You're checking your hair. I'm trying to change my hair a little bit between 2, like a little bit more of a cleaner cut look for the American. I'm pushing my hair up before I go on stage. I'm making sure I don't have any lipstick on me from Mama Seed making out with me in the scene before to go be buddy. Different things like that. But that's all on.
But you are. That's a lot of changes to make.
It is.
And then in your head to have to switch over from this kind of sweet guy.
Yes.
To now 30 years later, kind of a jerk.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just that it's a personality change, but it's also a time period change.
Correct, absolutely. And I have and as the American, I have a Air Force uniform on, so that's
wow,
a little bit.
You've got
of
a lot of
get-up
intricate costume changes.
Yes, but I'm loving it.
Are you spending a lot of time backstage, like trepidatiously thinking, "Oh, just let me get into this costume"?
No, I have no time. Like literally, there's like 3 scenes towards the end of Act 2 that I can actually finally sit down. But other than that, like I'm on the move the entire show. It's quite exhausting.
Yeah. I did a play in the fall. I had 5 costume changes. Well, just one character, thankfully. But, I mean, it was the costume changes that made me tired.
That's it.
That was what kind of stressed me out and made me tired. The play was easy. The line memorization was easy. But sometimes I'd be in that dressing room thinking, oh, my God, it's only number 3. I got 2 more costume changes. And it wasn't like they were like ball gowns.
Right.
But there's just something about the having to run back and change everything and make sure it's right. And then, making sure it's all set up right for you to do it the next time. And then the one backstage is always the fun where you're like, oh, my God, here comes the music. I've got 30 seconds to switch this out.
I have like 5 of those.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you love that adrenal rush of...
Yes.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
And it's even though the show can be exhausting physically and emotionally, I mean, because especially what happens at the end, and I don't want to give too much away, but and then the physicalness of moving around, I'm still amped up afterwards.
Yeah.
You do that, and you still have that adrenaline, and you're like, I can't go to bed now for 2 hours.
Yeah. That's the thrill of doing a play, right?
Yes.
That you're high as a kite when it's done.
Yes.
And there's few things. I think that's why people like free dive and bungee jump off bridges and jump out of airplanes, is to get that kind of adrenaline feeling that you get when a play is done.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of feel like you're floating above Los Angeles a little bit.
Yeah, I love that.
Now, how do you find the time to still, because you're always auditioning for films and for television, and you're always doing different projects. Is it hard when you're working a play into the middle of it? I mean, are you still available? So sometimes you're running to an audition in the morning and then running to a show at night?
Correct. Yeah, and now that it's ending, it's 2 weeks left in the show. So there's this weekend, and then we did get extended to next weekend.
It's wonderful.
So, originally the show was going to run to May 13th. Now it runs to May 20th. So there's 2 more weeks to get out and see the show. And I do audition during the day. I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays off. The show is actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 8, and there's a Sunday matinee at 3. So it's 4 shows a week. So I do have about half of the week off to be able to do other things, and the daytimes off to be able to do that, to catch up on stuff and to do auditions and still go to acting class. And
right. Oh, so you're still going to acting class in the middle of when you're doing a show.
Yes.
You're burly. Now, how often do you go to acting class?
Once a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now are you having to prep things to do in acting class? Prep
Yes.
projects?
And
you're
like,
okay,
cut
now
down
I'm
a little bit.
3 characters on stage, and now I got to prep something for you, too?
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
I know.
I love that, though. You like to be sort of all encompassed by it.
I like to live it, and I feel like I'm constantly trying to think of what else I can do. And I think that's been something that's good for me because it pushes me. I have a good team on my side. I've got a wonderful manager, Mark Robert. I've got a wonderful publicist, Ken Werther. I mean, you work with these people who become your support. They work with you.
Isn't that nice?
I've always had the philosophy.
The good team.
A good
the
team.
Good, not the bad team.
No. We
that
don't like
turns
the bad
things
team.
down for you and makes enemies.
And then doesn't tell you
We
about
like the
it.
good team. Yes. Go Ken Werther.
Yeah.
Always. I'm his biggest fan.
Me too. I like Ken. I love Ken. And my whole thing is, it's like you've got these people working. I always think to say with you. Some people say like, oh, you hire the agent. They work for you. Or the agent sometimes gets an attitude and they're like, I can give or take you. I always think it's a team. And I think we're 50-50. And if we're not 50-50 working congruently, then what are we?
I agree. And it's very much a partnership.
Yes.
Because the goal is for you to do more and more important things and get bigger and bigger stuff happening.
Correct.
And that happens when you're
teammates.
working on your own career and
Right.
they're working on your career and everybody's working for the same goal, which is your career.
Correct.
And I think sometimes people get involved with agents or managers or publicists who then suddenly say, oh, no, you're not allowed to audition on your own. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. And that, okay. But a lot of the work that you're doing on your own, a lot of the projects you're finding out about on your own are helping to then add to your resume so the agent can go and get you even bigger things.
Exactly. And that's the thing with Mark Robert. I feel like I've got a good representation who looks for stuff for me and utilizes what I've done. But there's that freedom for me to go out and find my own projects, like this play I found on my own. I did an episode of Castle that came on in February, and I found out about it because I knew someone who worked on the show.
It's wonderful.
And they said, you should come in and audition for this. She didn't have any say as far as me getting the part, but she was the one that opened the door for me to go and audition, and it worked out. And so you find that as you get more and more integrated, it's the relationships that you build and you foster and the ones that you nurture that will actually come back and be the most beneficial for you.
I agree.
Could I plug where you buy tickets?
Please. I was just going to get there. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you're so good. See, we're like copacetic. You can go to thelatc.org.
Wonderful.
thelatc.org. You can get tickets there. Or you can call 866-811-4111, and that's the box office number. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 8 p.m.
Through May 20th.
Yep, and a Sunday matinee. And there's Thursdays are $10 only. And then so that's a good deal. And but
wonderful.
There's the 3 other shows during the week. It's just a really wonderful cast. Everyone is I feel perfectly cast in their roles. I feel really blessed to be working with each one of these actors. We have terrific, like I said, stage manager, wonderful director, and the playwright. Everyone's so focused on the project, and they see the potential of the project, and you see them how each audience is moved by the project and the show, and each one has, like I said, has questions afterwards, and they're encouraged by it, and so just to get that feedback. It's like I said when I did Corpus Christi, I got that same sort of interesting vibe and energy from the audience, and that's what we're getting, and that's part of the theater process. It's not just about us